What is going on, my Super Sandwiches? Rhymestyle here, and today I'm joined by Dragon Ball Nation and Qaaman, and today we'll be discussing the very first chapter of the Dragon Ball Super manga. But before we start that, I want everybody to go to Dragon Ball Nation's channel and congratulate him on passing the 9,000 subscriber mark on his channel, because as a DBZ tuber, passing the 9,000 moment is very special for all of us. So congrats, Dragon Ball Nation. I want to say that on this video before we start.
Alright, thanks, man.
Today, and before we start, we are going to be talking about the first chapter of Dragon Ball Super's manga. So if you don't want anything spoiled, we highly suggest you skip that, because again, we're going to talk about details and we just make sure we get that out there so we don't, accidentally spoil anything for you guys. But basically, today what we talk about is kind of our theory on what might be happening with the very first saga in Dragon Ball Super. If you read the first chapter, and that's just kind of quick summarize what happened. Essentially, the series starts right after the Kid Buu fight. Goku's a farmer now. Just very, very chill, lighthearted. We see Beerus and Whis get introduced very, very early. Now remember, Beerus is supposed to be asleep still, and he doesn't wake up another 5 years from the point where Kid Buu is defeated. But in the manga that was introduced yesterday, Beerus he's in action already with Whis, and we see Beerus and Whis on some planet. They're eating food. They try to get, they almost get poisoned, but that doesn't stop Beerus, because Beerus is kind of powerful and stuff. So poison is going to kill him. But in the process of him blowing up that planet, he's eating a soup. Qaaman, what's the soup called?
The Yasai soup, which is like the Japanese translation for basically Saiyan soup or Saiyan people vegetable.
Yes, so when he eats the soup, he has this quick memory spark where he thinks, he's reminded of a dream that he had. And of course, the dream is the Super Saiyan God, which he kind of, revealed as a dream in Battle of Gods. So our theory is that Toriyama is taking the Battle of Gods movie as a concept and turning it into a saga. So instead of completely writing the movie out, now Dragon Ball Z Battle of Gods is becoming a saga in this series. So it's obviously it's both good and bad. I mean, a lot of people think it's bad because it's kind of lazy, it's not really original, but at the same time it could also be very good, because we're going to see so much stuff that couldn't have been added because originally Toriyama was working on the movie. And Jaden Tassi actually made a great theory in his video yesterday, where he talked about, when Toriyama originally worked on Battle of Gods, he didn't really plan on it exploding so much. He didn't plan on doing Resurrection F, he didn't plan on doing another anime. He just kind of made Battle of Gods as a thing just to keep it back to the fans. But because of how successful it was and how much the DBZ community has boomed in the past 2 years, he decided, you know what, now I have a better chance to take Dragon Ball Z Battle of Gods and turn it into an anime and kind of really take my time writing out Beerus, writing out Whis, writing out, how Goku becomes Super Saiyan God again, how he becomes Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan, and there's so much room to grow. So I brought Dragon Ball Nation and Qaaman together into this video so we can give our personal thoughts on what we think if Dragon Ball Super started as a Dragon Ball Z Battle of Gods saga. So Qaaman, you're up first. What do you think about this?
Well, to be completely honest with you, when I first heard about this whole thing, I was like, oh, well, are they kind of like calling Dragon Ball Z Battle of Gods and Fukkatsu no F non-canon? And the more I look at this, I'm actually thinking this is a better long-term situation, because if you really look at it, when you look at the movies for Fukkatsu no F and Battle of Gods, there's only so much you can do in a movie. It's only 1 to 2 hours.
Yep.
And I think that by going into Dragon Ball Super, you can explore the different universes, and even by doing that, even if you're kind of saying that Fukkatsu no F and Battle of Gods are kind of non-canon, and, by meaning non-canon because they don't have a manga adaptation, whereas this already has a full manga adaptation as opposed to Fukkatsu no F that only had that quick 3-chapter thing. I think this is giving the series a lot more room to grow in many different directions, and I think fans can kind of look at Battle of Gods and Fukkatsu no F and kind of wave it off. And I think that's more important, because it's easier to wave off a movie than it is to wave off an entire official series, and I think that's a really, really good solution he's doing for the series.
Honestly, I don't think he's going to wave Resurrection off. What I think Resurrection F is going to do, or Fukkatsu no F, whatever you want to call it, I feel like Resurrection F happened so fast in the Dragon Ball Z timeline that it might fit in just a random weekend that Goku and Vegeta are experiencing. So the events of Resurrection F are still going to happen, but they're not going to be as drastically changed as Battle of Gods was, because obviously Battle of Gods just is already way different than it is. Like in Resurrection F, we see Goku and Vegeta have already Super Saiyan God. They purposely wrote Resurrection in as like more of a bonus, happening in that 10-year time skip between, when we saw the tournament and Kid Buu's defeat. So I feel like Resurrection is going to be fine, for now at least. For now, I mean, Toriyama's very unpredictable. But as far as Battle of Gods, that's completely being written out right now. But Dragon Ball Nation, what do you think?
Well, like you, I don't think that Resurrection F is really going to be changed much, if any at all. It might be slightly altered, but the movie literally just came out in Japan, and it still hasn't been released in the States. And by the time they get to that part in the series or in the storyline for Super, the series or the movie's gonna be so new still that I don't see them changing it. And quite frankly, I'm very, very surprised they're even touching Battle of Gods, really, because there's really no reasons that the events that we see in the manga chapter for Super should have taken place, because Beerus is supposed to be asleep, and it doesn't make any sense. And it's very surprising that he would write that, redo that whole story in a way, or integrate it in Super and change so many things. Very interesting stuff. Kind of says a lot about what the potential for the series is. He could be rewriting a lot of things, and as a lot of people have talked about, even though I don't really want this to happen, there's the potential that the whole ending of Z can be rewritten. That's not something I want to see, even though not a lot of people like that. It's still a 100% original story that happened in the original manga, and I would not like to see something like that changed. But it's all very interesting that he's doing this stuff.
A couple things I want to point out is with Battle of Gods, I understand why Battle of Gods would be kind of rewritten, because Beerus goes to sleep at the end of the series for 3 years. So it would kind of be difficult to squeeze all the Dragon Ball Super in that last 2-year time period between, before the tournament happens where Oob shows up. And I feel like that's probably why he decided to write it. He decided to give himself a 10-year period so you can, figure out what's going to happen. The other thing I want to point out is, and I was waiting for this to happen last week, but after we saw Kid Buu get destroyed, I was wondering what they were going to do for Dragon Ball Z Kai. If they didn't show the last episode, then that would have been a huge sign that they weren't going to actually, continue on with that ending. But the fact that it did air last week tells me that, Dragon Ball Z still ends where it ends. So that further gives me, a theory that Dragon Ball Super is only going to take place in that 10-year time skip between Kid Buu's defeat and that world tournament happening. What do you guys think about that? Qaaman?
I've always felt that it would take place in that 10-year gap. Now, Dino, we've been on the record saying that there's a little inconsistency because, even in the manga, in one of the late chapters of the manga when Bulma and Vegeta come to where Goku and Goten are training, Bulma specifically says, "Oh, Goku, I haven't seen you in 5 years," which already conflicts to some degree with the timeline placement, but I think that's a minor inconsistency that fans can kind of wink off, because this is not the first time there have been inconsistencies in Dragon Ball.
Yeah, Toriyama is great at that. Dragon Ball Nation, what do you think about that?
I also agree with what Qaaman said. Me and him have discussed this many times. We don't even think this is going to go past the whole Oob thing, and certainly not go past the whole GT, arc or whatever. They're not going to touch that. They're going to keep it within the realms of the end of Z, that 10-year gap, going in their I think they're going to do a bunch of time skips, but there are going to be a lot of inconsistencies on the way, because these new films really complicate a lot of things that they can squeeze in a way, because they have to follow a lot of criteria. But obviously they're changing a lot of Battle of Gods, so they're not really worried about doing inconsistencies at this point.
Right. Okay, which I know the only thing is there's a lot of Oob fans out there. It's a lot of Oob fans actually out there. And I'm sure they might be upset if we don't see any Oob in this series, but it is what it is. So we just want to kind of get together and put our thoughts into what if Battle of Gods was a saga. So now we're going to turn the video over to you guys in the comment section below. So what do you guys think about the first saga of Dragon Ball Super being the Battle of Gods saga? Well, not really the Battle of Gods saga, but kind of taking that same story and writing out the way it was meant to be. Would you guys be fans of that or not? If so, why or why not? Let us know in the comment section below. Basically, all your thoughts about it. Again, with me, I think it would be kind of cool just because he has a lot more room to grow Beerus and Whis' characters and basically the whole story all together, because now you're feeding into many episodes rather than just an hour-and-a-half long movie. The other thing I'll point out is Beerus and Whis are going to be returning regular characters in the series. As V-Jump mentioned this past week, Beerus is going to quote-unquote run amok in the series. And I don't know exactly what that means, but they definitely confirmed that Beerus and Whis are going to be a huge part of this entire saga, and that excites me the most, because to me, Beerus is my favorite character in Dragon Ball Z right now, and I think he's just awesome. He's very original, very powerful. I like that he's not good nor evil, but he's just so interesting overall. And because of that, I want to see Beerus further grow as a character and all that stuff. So
like Qaaman, Piccolo too.
Apparently Piccolo too, but that's just Qaaman. Qaaman's the only person that likes Piccolo. No, I'm just kidding. Qaaman Nation, do you guys have anything else to say before we end this? Qaaman, you can go first.
I think I should go last. Dragon Ball Nation, do you have anything?
Okay.
No, I actually have nothing to add. There's not a whole lot to really discuss on this, because we've only seen that first manga chapter, and it barely touched upon anything that to do with Beerus and Whis. so it's very hard to say. I'm very curious to see at the end of that manga chapter what exactly, I don't know if you guys know what exactly the Elder Kai and Kibito Kai are even discussing. I think it's pretty clear to me that they're mentioning Beerus' present of some sort. That's what I would think, but that's really all I have to say.
It's funny you say that. It's funny you say that because I think what that is, it's the same thing to how Battle Gods began. Because remember when Battle Gods started and Supreme Kai and King Kai were talking like, oh my god, it's awake? I think that's what it is. And I think they're actually just worried because now, Beerus has remembered the whole Super Saiyan God stuff and now is most likely going to come after Goku on Earth. So I think that's what they're afraid of.
And I can't say I'm a fan of it. What they're doing here puts a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth, but it is what it is. I'm going to enjoy the series, I'm sure, but I'll throw us over to Qaaman.
Well, I think it's about that time. Please remember to rate, comment, and subscribe. And remember, as I always say, in every single video, even if you've never heard me before, to have a great day, guys.